Gregory! Merry Christmas! So your question was, why do we use artificial coloring in foods?
Well,
I'm going to start with the psychology, because that's kind of what we do for the most part. Color can do a lot of things for food, and this is most of the reason why we use food coloring. Color can influence how we identify the flavor of the food. If you think of like the major candies here in Japan, we have haichus. Haichus are great. The pink ones are always strawberry. The purple ones are always... There's no candy here. The purple ones are always grape. It helps us identify the flavor so we know what we're eating. This is a major reason that many food companies will put food coloring in the food. Another big influence that color can have is our perception of the quality of the food. If you think about like vegetables and fruits just naturally, the ones that are brighter colors and they look more fresh, they look more delicious, and many companies will put food coloring into their foods to kind of give our senses the perception that yes, this is good, this will taste good, this is fresh, this is quality. And you can think about like the really gross brown bananas and apples that are all spotted, and it just doesn't look appetizing, even though they're probably perfectly fine. Now here's something this is probably the most interesting part of this. The intensity of the color can affect how we perceive the intensity or the certain attributes of flavor that certain foods have. And this could be everything from how pleasant we find the taste to its acceptability, and the most interesting one is sweetness. And this isn't something that affects just whether or not we'll buy the product. It actually affects us psychologically, how we perceive the flavor just by seeing the color. The most fascinating one of these is sweetness. Food coloring can actually be used to replace sweeteners in foods. Now this is because if we see an intense color, for example reds or pinks or blues, we'll actually think they taste sweeter than they actually are. So we can reduce the sugar amount but increase the food coloring, and we'll still get the same perception of sweetness. Now moving on to more of the marketing side. So first let's start out with some statistics. People will make up their mind about a product within about the first 90 seconds of interacting, so about 62 to 90% of this perception will come from color. Now, that's a wide range, but this is coming from a literature review, so it's looking at a lot of different studies. So based on these statistics, we can see that the color makes a big difference in whether or not someone's actually going to buy a certain product, which is very important for companies because obviously they want you to buy their product. Now this next point is kind of psychology, kind of marketing, kind of some of that. The color can actually influence a consumer's mood, whether that's positive or negative. It can be a great marketing tool to bring up or down the atmosphere of, for example, a restaurant. I think the big one and the easy one is McDonald's. It's always gold and red, and you always know, ooh, that's really bright and powerful. Well, the same concept can be applied to food. The brighter and the more interesting colors can influence us to buy certain products, and it actually, as we said earlier, influence the taste of the food itself. We always want our food to be happy, and I think that's a big thing in Japan, is a lot of the colors are very bright and poppy and very happy colors. There's the pastels, but they're really bright pastels, but it's amazing. And this is within a lot of the candies you'll see, like haichu I mentioned earlier, and if you go to a lot of the confectionery stores out here, they'll use the food coloring because they have these really bright and happy colors. Color can also be very important for branding and marketing, for differentiating different companies. For example, different candies, even though they have the same flavor, will be different shades, or may even be a different color altogether. One strawberry candy could be pink, while another one could be red with speckles on it. I know Laffy Taffy, I don't know if they still do, had this watermelon flavored Laffy Taffy, and it was really good, but the only difference in color between it and, let's say, the strawberry was it had the colorings of the seeds in it, so it can actually differentiate the products not only between companies but also products within their own brand line. So in conclusion, coloring has a lot of effects both psychologically and in marketing for companies. It affects the way we taste food, it affects the way we perceive its quality, it can even affect our mood and our willingness to buy a product. So that brings me to my question to you, and as you know, it's Christmas. Here in Japan, Christmas is a little bit different. Many of the decorations are the same. We still have Santa and all that good stuff, but Christmas in Japan is more of a romantic holiday. It's more of a time you spend time with your romantic partner, while as in the States, it's more of a family holiday. And it's kind of the opposite with New Year's, because New Year's is a big family holiday here, but it's actually more of a romantic holiday in the States with the New Year's kiss and all that. So my question to you is, how did Christmas become such a romantic holiday in Japan? Well, Greg, I'll see you around.
Well,
So first, let's start out with some Fuck me. I can't do it. Crazy hair today. Statistics. That's really hard to say. First, let's start out with some statistics. Oh god. First, let's start out with some statistics. I think that's probably as good as it's gonna get.